Welcome to Real English Voices, the podcast dedicated to helping you master the rhythm and flow of real-world English conversation. I'm Tom.
And I'm Ria. And Tom, today we are diving into a topic that sounds a little formal, a little intimidating, but is absolutely essential for sounding natural and expressing complex ideas in English: conditionals.
The wonderful world of if sentences. I think a lot of learners, when they first hear zero, first, second, and third conditionals, their eyes just glaze over. It sounds like a math problem, not an English lesson.
Exactly. But we're going to break it down and show everyone that these structures are actually just incredibly useful tools for talking about facts, possibilities, hypothetical situations, and regrets. They're structures we use all the time, even without thinking about the technical names.
That's such a great point, Ria. It's all about context and meaning. Let's start with the easiest one, which really isn't about conditioning at all in a hypothetical sense. I'm talking about the zero conditional.
The zero conditional is your go-to for universal truths and scientific facts. It's talking about something that is always true. The structure is simple: if plus present simple, present simple.
So an example would be, if you heat ice, it melts. It's a fact. No debate, no maybe, no possibility. It's an automatic result. Or maybe a personal truth. If I skip my morning coffee, I am grumpy all day.
I can relate to that one, Tom. The beauty of the zero conditional is its certainty. It's the language of established reality. Another one: if it rains, the ground gets wet. It's just how the world works. It's an easy win for our listeners to start with because both parts of the sentence are in the present simple tense.
Exactly. It sets a foundation of certainty. Now let's move to where things get a little more interesting and a little less certain, the first conditional. This is where we talk about real possibilities in the future.
Yes, the first conditional is all about realistic future plans or potential outcomes. The structure changes slightly: if plus present simple, will plus base verb.
So, if you think about planning your weekend, you might say, if it stops raining, we will go for a walk in the park. You see, it's a real likely scenario. The condition is in the present, if it stops raining, and the result is a future action. We will go for a walk in the park.
Or maybe you're talking about a work deadline. If I finish this report tonight, I will treat myself to some takeout. It's a promise, or at least a highly probable action, based on a condition being met. This is probably the most used conditional in everyday conversation because we're constantly talking about potential future events.
Absolutely. And here's a little tip for our listeners. You can swap the order. You can say, we will go for a walk in the park if it stops raining. The meaning doesn't change. But if you start with if, you need a comma. If the if clause comes second, no comma is needed. Little things like that really make your English sound polished.
That's a fantastic observation, Tom. Polishing is key. Now let's take a deep breath and jump into the second conditional. This is where we move from real possibilities to imaginary, hypothetical, or unlikely situations in the present or future.
The second conditional is the language of dreams, wishes, and impossible scenarios. And the tense shift is key here. We use if plus past simple, would plus base verb.
My classic example for this one is the lottery. You don't have a ticket, so the condition is highly unlikely. If I won the lottery, I would buy a house on the beach. It's a fantasy. I haven't won yet, and the chances are slim, but I can still talk about what I would do.
And this is where people often stumble. They hear the past simple tense, if I won, and they think it's about the past, but it's actually about an unreal present or future. Another great one is advice. If I were you, I wouldn't accept that job offer. Even though I'm not you, I can imagine the situation.
And that's a crucial point you just hit on, Tom. For the second conditional, when we use the verb to be, we often use were for all subjects, even I and he, especially in formal or classic English. If she were here, she would agree with me. It's a signal to the listener that the situation is purely hypothetical.
It's a beautiful grammatical nuance. So to recap the difference between the first and second. First conditional, if I study hard, I will pass the test. That's a real possibility. Second conditional, if I studied for 100 hours, I would pass the test. The time is limited, so it's an unlikely scenario.
And the emotional jump is huge. The first is optimistic and practical. The second is often wistful or about giving gentle advice. It sounds softer, less demanding.
Right. Now, for the final and perhaps most emotionally charged of all, the third conditional. This is the language of regret, missed opportunities, and talking about hypothetical past events that are now impossible to change.
The third conditional is a heavy one because we're looking back at the past and wishing things had been different. It's unchangeable. The structure is the most complex. If plus past perfect, would have plus past participle.
I always think of traffic when I teach this one. You're late for the podcast. You say to me, if I hadn't missed the train, I wouldn't have been late for the recording. The truth is, you did miss the train and you were late. It's a hypothetical consequence of a hypothetical action in the past.
It's like rewriting history in your mind. Imagine a student who failed an exam. Their internal thought might be, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. But the moment has passed. The results are in. It's a regret.
It's so powerful because it allows us to express that deep sense of what if. It's how you express all those should haves and could haves. Another example, if we had known the restaurant was closed, we wouldn't have driven all that way. We drove all that way and the restaurant was closed. We can only talk about the alternative.
The third conditional is a little tricky because it involves the past perfect, had studied, had missed, which itself is a concept that takes some getting used to. But once you grasp it, you unlock a whole new level of conversational English, especially when telling stories about the past.
And I think that's the key, Ria. Let's step back from the names and structures for a minute and focus on what these conditionals do for us.
They allow us to express a full spectrum of reality, from certainty with the zero, if I'm tired, I sleep, to real probability with the first, if I get a bonus, I will buy a new laptop.
To dreaming or giving soft advice with the second. If I had $1 million, I would travel the world. And finally, to expressing regret or analysis with the third. If I had listened to your advice, I wouldn't have made that mistake.
It's a beautiful flow of thought, isn't it? And the key to mastering them isn't rote memorization of the names. It's about feeling the mood of the sentence. Is it a fact? Use the zero. Is it a realistic plan? Use the first. Is it a fantasy or an unlikely scenario? Use the second. Is it a past regret? Use the third.
That's the perfect way to put it. Feel the mood. Don't worry about being perfect right away. Start using the first conditional immediately in your conversations because you'll find so many opportunities. Plan your week. If the weather is nice on Saturday, I will go hiking.
And then, as you get more comfortable, try using the second conditional when you're talking about an imaginary vacation or a change in your life. Try saying out loud, if I lived in London, I would visit a museum every week.
And maybe, just maybe, when you're telling a story about something that went wrong last week, you can slip in a little third conditional. If I had left the house 5 minutes earlier, I would have caught that bus.
It's all about small, achievable steps. And remember what we always say, the more you use these structures in conversation, the more they stop being rules in your head and start becoming part of your natural English flow.
Your brain will start making those connections automatically, and you'll find yourself reaching for would have or if I were you without even thinking about which conditional it is. That's the moment of true fluency.
And please, don't be afraid to make mistakes. If you mix up a will and a would, native speakers will almost certainly still understand you. It's a process of refinement, not perfection.
Right. We're here to encourage you and inspire you. This is an advanced step, but it's an exciting one because mastering conditionals shows real maturity in your language skills. It allows you to express nuance, doubt, hope, and history.
It truly does. So, for your challenge this week, listeners, try to write down one example sentence for each of the 4 conditionals. Put them on a sticky note. Read them out loud. And try to use at least one first and one second conditional in a conversation with a study partner or even just with yourself in the mirror.
Fantastic challenge, Ria. Embrace the if. Embrace the hypothetical. Embrace the beauty of these structures. You are making incredible progress just by listening to a podcast on a topic that sounds this technical. Give yourself a huge pat on the back.
Absolutely. Keep learning, keep speaking, and keep living in English. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into conditionals.
We'll be back next time with more real English voices to help you sound confident and natural every time you speak.
Until then, keep practicing, and remember, if you keep coming back, you will become a confident English speaker.
You absolutely will. Bye for now.
Goodbye, everyone.